Hi guys, Dave O'Sullivan here again, former physio to Leeds Rhinos, Munster Rugby Union and the Huddersfield Giants. And in today's blog, it's blog 2 of 6 of the New Age Sports and Private Practice Healthcare Professional series. And what I'm showing you today and what I'm teaching you carries on from the last blog, where I'm going to show you some strategies that clinicians all over the world now working in both professional sport and private practice are using to ask some better questions, to get some better answers, to ultimately help patients get those long-lasting, successful patient outcomes and helping you get the recognition you deserve. Okay, so if you remember from blog 1, if you haven't watched blog 1, go back and watch it. I'll put a link into the video in this blog. Go back and watch that. It'll make so much more sense what I'm going to talk about today. So if you remember, we've got our 5 key pillars, okay? And the big pillar today I want to talk about is the subjective assessment, okay? Sorry, no, I've got absolutely atrocious handwriting. Okay, that's the subjective assessment. Now, that's the one that new grads, like every time I get a student in, when I was with the Giants over the last 3-4 years, I was like, right, go through an objective assessment. And they were just flying through it. And like, I couldn't even see stuff. And they were just like, bang, 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 bang. And there was no thought process gone into it. And like, I was asking them questions, okay, how does that relate to the person's injury history? And they're just like, what injury history? And that's what we're going to find out here today, okay? So then we've got the next key pillar that we need to get right is the objective assessment. Now, if you remember, okay, the objective should flow from the subjective, and I'm going to talk in a lot more detail about that next week. Then the next pillar that we've got is our interventions, okay? So that's whether it's, you know, whether you're a kind of a pain science kind of person, where you're not really big into your hands-on work, or whether you're the other extreme where you're very, very hands-on, or whether you're probably more like myself, where I think the pain science is really, really important, but I find very, very a lot of value in actual hands-on treatment if used appropriate. But then as well, we need a non-manual therapy approach. We're going to cover that in the next few weeks. And then we've got a rehab, okay? So I'm running out of space already. Okay, so then we got our rehab return to play system, okay? So that's then where the athlete, okay, is pain-free, they've jumped off the bed, wow, they think you're a miracle worker. Okay, but what happens when they go back out training? What happens when the stress is placed upon their system again? And that's where we really need that pillar to be very, very strong. Our return to play system has to be strong. And then we've got our final pillar, which I put under here, and I'm after ruining my whiteboard already here, in terms of the space that I want to use this for. So that's all about resilience, okay, and robustness, okay, or whatever you want to call it, okay? So that's where then, okay, we've discharged our patient, or we're about to discharge our patient. Are we sure that that athlete, when we put them back in the gym, can they squat, can they deadlift? Or if it's a private patient, Mary down the street, can she lift her kids or her grandkids up, okay, into her arms? Can she get to shop them out of the car? There's some form of deadlift, there's some form of lunge in that, and that's where we need to help our athletes or our private practice patients be successful in the real world, okay? As I said, I've seen too many people that are on Facebook, yeah, look how great I am, okay? And I'm tempted to do that sometimes. And initially in my earlier career, I was like, I'd get a result, I'm like, whoa, I don't even know how I've done that, but I'm going to shout it from the rooftops. Whereas now it's like, okay, well, let's actually see how they come in the next week, when actually they have to go back into the real world and stress is put on their body again. How does their body self-organize? Okay, so they're the 5 pillars that I've kind of come up with, really, or kind of step back and go, okay, they're the 5 things I need to be very, very good at. And then that helps me make a lot of good decisions about where I'm invested in my CPD each year, okay? And again, go back and watch the last blog. But in this blog today, I want to talk all about the subjective, okay? And you can see I've totally messed up my whiteboard here already. So the subjective, okay? This is so important, and like the first minute that a person comes into you, that's the most important, okay? Like, you go and look at all the research about first impressions, okay? You almost know instantaneously if someone, like, if you're going to like them, okay? It's all subconscious. Now, the big thing that we need to understand as therapists is a lot of athletes, okay, are skeptical about us. A lot of patients are skeptical if we can actually help them, okay? They're nervous. They don't know what physio is, or, you know, if you're not a physio, if you're a sports therapist or an osteopath or a chiropractor, they're not sure what to expect, okay? They're very, very guarded. Now, that's a big, big problem for us when we understand that the objective assessment is ultimately going to be a reaction to that patient's story. So this is where we literally have to meet somebody, and within 5 minutes of meeting them, we have to get their deepest, darkest secrets to a point, okay? They have to show themselves to be vulnerable to us in telling us about their pains, their aches, the bad times in their life, okay? So it's very, very important that we're seeing it as a person first rather than a physio. So what I suggest in that first couple of minutes, get to know the person a little bit, put them at ease. And like what I teach in mentorship is like the first 2-3 minutes of that initial appointment, like it's anything but physio, okay? It's getting to know the person, it's putting them at ease, because if we can get them to relax a little bit, the chances are they're going to be able to trust us a little bit, and then we're going to be able to get a better idea of that patient's story, okay? So the subjective assessment, okay, it's so important, because that's going to give us a kind of a blueprint for where to go, okay? So like if I've got someone with calf pain, I've got no business, okay, just treating that calf from a sports point of view, okay? I need to understand why that calf's got high tone before I even touch that calf, because the chances are the calf's actually done a great job up to now, it's just had enough, okay? So how can I design a rehab program unless I understand the story? And that's where it is in the subjective assessment, okay? So the first thing is we need to get that patient to actually relax in the treatment room so that they're actually willing to give us an insight into their story, okay? If we don't understand their story, and if we can't get an accurate story, then we're really setting ourselves up for failure from the first go, and we're going to waste a session or two. How many patients have, you know, you're halfway through your treatment, oh, I've got to tell you about this. Oh, is this relevant? Is this important? You're like, whoa, that's actually very, very important. Now things are beginning to make sense for me. And when things make sense, that's when you get that confidence to actually go, right, I'm on the right track with this patient. I'm going to be able to help this patient go through all these, okay, and then I'm going to be able to help get them resilience and robustness. I'm going to be able to help them. And I'm confident that when I discharge that patient, that I'm happy that I've done enough so that that pain's not going to return again. Because there is nothing worse from my point of view than a patient coming back to me, oh, you felt great for 2-3 days, but the pain came back again. It's my pet hate. It's my biggest frustration. Okay, I hate it, and I drill it into the team here at Pro Sport Physio. Like, getting somebody out of pain is easy, okay, with the greatest respect to that, okay? And like, you know, I remember Paul saying it to us before, painkillers can get you out of pain, okay? But the art is to keep somebody out of pain, okay? And that's where the new age sports healthcare professional understands that, okay? And that all starts in that story, okay? So we need to understand the story, and you need to be able to get that patient to trust you, okay? They need to be comfortable in your surroundings, and they need to believe that you can help them, okay? Because if that patient's still skeptical 5-10 minutes in, okay, you know that when you're going to hear, okay, they're going to be very nervous. Then all of a sudden their eyes, they don't feel comfortable yet. So if you don't feel comfortable, you move completely different anyway. If I walk into a crowded room and I can see everyone's looking at me, my gait's going to change straight away. Whereas if I'm comfortable and relaxed, then I've got half a chance of seeing some of the reactions that are actually happening as a result of the person's story. Okay, so that's going to help. Plus, if I'm doing my pain science and I'm actually telling people, you know, what pain isn't, what pain is, what pain isn't, and how it's meaningful to their case, you know, if they're skeptical of us and they're not really buying into it, they're not probably going to listen to us, okay? And is that because I'm weak here, or because I'm weak here, or because I didn't get this right, okay? The subjective assessment is so important, because you have to be able to talk to people. 7 steps to clinical excellence. I done that free report, okay? It's my 7 steps that, you know, I'm obsessed with this at the moment, seeing what people are doing, what's working well, what's not working well, because I'm on that journey to try achieve that, okay? And the very first thing is get good at talking to people. Get off Twitter, get off Facebook, and get talking to people, okay? Get someone who you know that they're a little bit skeptical, and start to talk to them, ask them questions, start to break down those barriers so that you can build trust, so they're actually going to listen to you when they talk, okay? And you need to be quite authoritative in this relationship, okay? That's not to mean I want you to be, aggressive and all that, okay? And I've probably been accused of being a bit aggressive at times with how I speak to players in professional sport. And I think at times do you need that, because you need to be an authoritative figure in pro sport, okay? Because if you give a player an inch, they're going to take a mile. But in the private practice setting, you need to be authoritative in terms of, okay, this is what we need to do. This is what we're going to do to help you to get there. Does that make sense? Okay? And if you have that authority, you're going to build trust, and that patient then is going to get that belief that, okay, this person is the one that's going to help me, okay? And the belief from the patient is half the battle. If they believe you're going to help them, you're off to a great start. If they don't believe and they're still skeptical in session 2, session 3, then, it's going to get very, very hard for us. And you're going to have to be very, very good at one of these pillars to make up for it. Whereas if we're solid at each of our pillars and we do this one right, then things get very, very easy on the back of it, or certainly to get a lot more simplified. Okay? And as I said, the whole point of that subjective assessment is finding out about that story, okay? It's getting to know the person a little bit, okay? If you have to talk to that patient for half an hour in the first session, so be it. If you feel that they're still not relaxed with you, they're still not confident that, you're not confident that they're opening up and telling you their true story, then I would argue, is what we're going to be seeing here actually a true gauge of how they move, okay? Or are they still feeling a little bit awkward, a little bit uncomfortable with us? So what are we going to see here? And then are we going to label that dysfunctional, okay? And then are we going to give them a corrective exercise to do that? And then are we going to put our hands on treatment to try help that dysfunction? When in actual fact, they're actually just a little bit skeptical of us. They're a little bit nervous and they feel a bit awkward, so they're moving differently. Okay, just something to think about. So that's what we need to do with that subjective. And then the last thing with the subjective assessment, I'm not going to keep you too long here. The last thing with the subjective assessment is you need to know where that patient wants to go, okay? You need to understand where they want to get back to. Because if you don't understand where they want to get back to, then in my opinion, and with the greatest respect, you've got no business doing a treatment plan or a rehab plan, okay? And I've been guilty of this myself in the first few years with ACLs, with MCLs, and I had this conversation with the Giants medical team only a few months ago, in terms of like, we get an athlete, okay, they've got a season-ending injury or whatever, they're out for 4, 5, 6 months, and we probably tell them, the first question they ask is, okay, how long is this going to take? Yeah, it's probably going to be about 6 months. Okay, that's fine. And it was actually a player said it to me when I was consulting. It just stimulated some thought to me, and he's kind of saying, I'm waiting like just for one day to wake up and it's going to feel great. But actually that's our fault as a clinician, because we don't know where they want to get to. But taking a step back from that, we have to educate the patient on the steps to get there, because the fear of the unknown is horrible. When you don't know what's going to happen or what's laying ahead, you're always going to carry that little bit of tension, okay? Whereas if we understand where that patient wants to get to, then we can start pulling it back and then actually figuring out how to get there. So then that's going to get a lot more compliance. They're going to understand why they're doing stuff, okay? And again, I got into all this in my own kind of flagship program with the 12-month mentorship, but that's just something to keep into consideration, okay? So the key things here, the first session subjective, get to know the person first. You're a person first, you're a physio second. Until that person actually is comfortable in your surroundings, then I would argue that, are we really seeing true movement with that person, or are we seeing just a reaction where they feel a little bit awkward with us, and then we're labeling, we're putting all our eggs in one basket, and then we're trying to do this and this, whereas actually we don't even understand their story, okay? So just let me know your thoughts. As I said, this is the system I've put in place based on the back of 8 years working in pro sport. I got sick of like players kind of breaking down again, and I've got sick of kind of these one-hit wonders. I've gone on courses that they feel great, and then the next day the player's coming back and it goes, yeah, look, it felt great, but it feels the same again. So I've learned this the hard way, and I'm trying to help get this word out now. Actually, there is a different way of looking at the body than what we were taught in university. Okay, and as I said, this stuff's being applied now. These 5 pillars are being utilized all over the world, both in pro sport and in private practice. Okay, and when we do this and we get good at all of these, then we don't have to rely on our hands-on techniques, or we don't have to be like Peter O'Sullivan where we have to be really, really good at our pain science. But if we can just build up all our pillars, then we can have a very, very stable kind of skill set that'll allow us get that consistency with our long lasting successful patient outcomes. And once you get that, that's when the recognition will happen. Okay, that's when people are going to be talking about you and are going to be willing to give you that word of mouth referral. Okay, when they trust you, they like you, and they've got trust and belief that you can help their family members and their friends as well. Okay, but once you get this stuff right, then the rest of it usually will tend to fall into place. Okay, so thanks for listening. Once again, my name's Dave O'Sullivan. I worked with Leeds Rhinos, with Munster Rugby Union, with Huddersfield Giants over the last 8 years in sport. As I said, I've picked up a couple of things, and what all the Pro Sport Academy about is just showing you realities. Okay, there's no bullshit. There's no telling you that I'm doing this and this. I keep it very, very simple. I'm over the whole kind of wow factor of doing something and seeing massive changes. The most important thing for me is, okay, does this change stick? Okay, does that person earn the right to keep it? And then once they go back into the real world, what happens then? Okay, because it's all about long-lasting, successful patient outcomes for me. Okay, it's not about these one-hit wonders where we do something to a patient, we don't really know what happened. Okay, they feel great, but then the next 9 patients, okay, we're struggling like mad. It's all about getting that balance, and that's what the Pro Sport Academy is about. Okay, so thanks for joining in with this one. As I said, if you haven't watched the last one, get back, watch that. Next Tuesday, we're going to tackle the objective assessments. Okay, so we know now, okay, we need to get the story of the patient. I'm going to show you then how this links into that very nicely. So I'll see you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. GMT UK time. And if not, I'll see you on the next blog as well. Make sure you sign up for the 7 Steps to Clinical Excellence ebook. I'll pop that in the comments section below in our Facebook page. Okay, and then that'll go into this whole communication thing in a lot more detail.